When I think back to the first commander I ever built, it's hard not to feel a mix of warm nostalgia and cold critical scrutiny. When I pulled Lorthos the Tidemaker from a Zendikar pack in spring of 2010, Mythics meant a lot more to me, and here was this massive legendary mythic octopus. 8 mana for an 8/8 that makes you pay 8 mana to tap 8 permanents with 8 U's on the card. Okay, maybe that last one's a stretch, but Lorthos is just so cool, and this intentional flavor-forward design was something 9-year-old me fell in love with. On the other hand, when I look at him today, I understand why he only has 101 decks according to EDHREC. He's an 8-drop commander, and after you pay that cost, you have to keep paying 8 into him just to use his ability. And of course, it's not even an activated ability, it's a triggered ability, so you can't benefit from cost reducers or ability doublers. No, if you're playing Lorthos, the name of the game is Mono Blue Ramp, with some Sea Monster Tribal or Voltron components. He does offer a uniquely brutal method of locking one player out of the game, and if you pair his trigger with some other nasty effects, he can be a real threat. But aside from that, Lorthos is just an awesome, flavorful commander. To this day, octopuses remain my favorite animal, and Mono Blue one of my favorite commander color identities. Though Lorthos may not be the best mono blue commander out there, he does have a one-of-a-kind effect that creates interesting new combos. I love blue for that reason. So many blue commanders take an existing rule and bend it to make a new weird opening for something exciting. But it's not just blue that does this. So many legends out there are so unlike anything else that they make you stop right then and there and wonder at their potential. When I posted a video several months back encouraging you to try unconventional commanders, I got tons of comments with everyone's favorite underdog commanders, and I found that the more comments I read, the more I wanted to highlight just how awesome these underdogs are. I ended that video by saying you should try more underdogs, and I'm starting this one by giving you some ideas. Lord of Leaves from Germany brings us the 1092nd most popular commander, Kylox Visionary Inventor. Kylox costs 5 and Izzet for a 4/4 with Menace, Ward 2, and Haste, which matters because when he attacks, you can sacrifice any number of other creatures, then exile the top X cards of your library, where X is their total power. You may cast any number of instant and or sorcery spells from among the exiled cards without paying their mana costs. I love when Wizards takes a typical cookie cutter archetype and spins it to the point that you have to build it completely differently. Like how Eivor Battle Ready doesn't even care about what you do with your equipment, it just kind of wants you to have as much as possible. Shout out to Nate for that one, but I'm getting off track. Kylox cares about instants and sorceries like a typical Izzet commander, but he cares in a much different way. You want to simultaneously build up as much power on board as you can, while also stacking your deck with massive spells to cast for free. Drawing extra cards doesn't actually do anything here. Instead, you're incentivized to skip straight to the good part and throw a bunch of spells on the stack all at the same time, with the bonus of ordering them however you like. Maybe you flip a Worldfire and Boltwave in your top 20 cards, or maybe you find a ton of extra turn spells, though that's definitely the lamest way to build this. Izzet Spellslinger has the tendency to go on a long string of non-deterministic combo chains, and slamming upwards of 10 spells on the stack all at once is a sure recipe for disaster if you're trying to build the deck to waffle around. In the Worldfire scenario, for example, if I flip Worldfire with nothing else that wins me the game, I would never just cast it for kicks. If it were me building this deck though, I'd have all sorts of spells that make big tokens, some creatures with unusually high powers, and just like 15 to 20 massive spells that I thought looked fun at the time. I never heard of this guy until I read this comment, and I'm glad that I did. Hey, what's up guys? Just popping in here to give a quick shout out to Dead on Board MTG. We aren't sponsored or anything, but they made this sweet freaking jacket with all of these creators on it all over the place. Evelyn and I took some pictures, and then he's also the guy that made the Cardboard Junkies hoodie that you've seen me wear in a couple of the Mana Dorks videos. Recently I met him at MagicCon Vegas. He showed me CDH. I've never played CDH before, and he let me borrow his Glarb CDH deck, so just a super cool guy, super awesome. I'll leave a link to his shop in the description. You should definitely check it out because he does custom stuff, and you know, if you hop over there, tell him we sent you, just a little hey, Cardboard Junkies recommended this because I just think he's really cool guy, really awesome shop, makes some really good quality stuff. So yeah, check him out. Another one that caught my eye was Lagamos Hand of Hatred from my boy 100. Lagamos is a 3-drop 1/3 human shaman that says, at the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 2/1 red elemental creature token with trample and haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step, and he can tap to tutor for any card, but only if 5 or more creatures died this turn. On his face, he seems like a decent Rakdos Aristocrats commander, with a neat payoff for when you start to get your engine online. But there's actually a really easy way to abuse this second ability. Since Lagamos' first effect fuels 1 of the 5 deaths, we only need to find 4 more. Good thing there's actually a very simple and well-known way to kill 4 creatures at once that my boy even points out. That's right, Lagamos doesn't care if our creatures die, so any turn that we play a one-time edict effect gets us a free demonic tutor. That helps us assemble the Aristocrats package much more consistently, or completely abandon that strategy altogether. Really, as long as you have enough edicts, the rest of the deck can be whatever you want. Maybe you want to assemble some convoluted combo, or find Rise of the Dark Realms to steal everything that you're killing from your opponents. Really, there's tons of directions you can go with this and have an absolute blast. Personally, I would lean into more graveyard stuff with cards like Chainer and Balthor, and then probably throw in a cool and some ridiculous payoff just for some flashy nonsense. I got a good amount of comments asking me how you would even find unpopular commanders in the first place. Since we haven't taken a look at anything Selesnya yet, I'll run through the process and look for a commander that interests me. But just a heads up, it's actually really easy. I just head over to Scryfall, and in the search bar I type in ID equals GW. ID stands for identity. This will search for all cards that have only a green and white color identity. If you wanted either green or white or both, you could type in ID:GW, and this would give you a more general search. So if we search ID equals GW, we get every card that has a green and white color identity, but this also includes random spells that aren't just commanders. So after ID equals GW, we type in is:commander, and voila! We now have every Selesnya commander displayed for us. Now all there is to do is read. If you wanted to search more specifically, there are other shortcuts you can type in, but for now I'm just looking for anything that catches my attention, so I want to keep the search as broad as possible. I read everything here and ultimately doubled back on Asmira, Holy Avenger. Asmira is a 4-drop 2/3 flying human cleric that says at the beginning of each end step, put a +1/+1 counter on Asmira for each creature card put into your graveyard from the battlefield this turn. This is basically a Voltron strategy with a really weird twist. Asmira wants us to get a bunch of other creatures on the battlefield and sacrifice them for her to get bigger, and Selesnya has a perfect package of little dudes that sacrifice themselves to do stuff. From ramp to protection to removal, we can play a grindier control strategy and continuously recycle our guys with cards like Sun Titan, Raise the Past, and Broodmoth style effects. With the pure density of selfless little white creatures, attempting to remove our commander will likely only make her stronger. This seems like a super fun bracket 2 to 3 that could open more doors to understanding your deck's synergy. In fact, a lot of underdogs can actually teach some pretty cool lessons when it comes to building with restrictions and making the most of what you have available. Jadzi is a Simic commander that cares about ramping, casting and copying instants and sorceries, and high-rolling free non-lands off the top of your deck. On the back is Journey to the Oracle, which reads, you may put any number of land cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Then, if you control 8 or more lands, you can discard a card to return Journey to the Oracle to its owner's hand, which is obviously important because you want to cast Jadzi afterwards. This is a fundamental building block on your journey to finding the 8 mana you need for Jadzi. In normal Simic ramp, your curve might look something like 2-drop ramp on turn 2 into 4-drop ramp on turn 3, then hopefully some more rocks and ramp on turn 4 to get the final 8 mana. The problem with this method is it requires you to run a high enough density of 4-drop ramp to be consistent, but a bunch of 4-mana cards that rip lands out of your deck and put them onto the battlefield tapped is probably the worst mana value and effect you could ask for in a deck like this. To get the ball rolling, you want to cast as small of a CMC spell as possible to leave more mana open for when Jadzi ultimately whiffs. Then you can cast another small spell and continue the chain. 2 and 3-drop sorceries that throw lands into your hand give you more cheap spells to cast later and leaves the 4-mana ramp up to Journey to the Oracle. This also gives you plenty of fuel to discard whenever you need to save Jadzi. Obviously in this deck, if you throw in a bunch of Storm cards, you're pretty much just going to win no matter what you do, but if you're just trying to play some more innocent bracket 2.5 to 3, I would skip Storm altogether and just put in whatever big cards you like. Jadzi will pretty much pop off no matter what you do, but at least you can steer the deck away from the endless combo direction. One more commander I wanted to mention was Donal, Herald of Wings, from both Pudrete and Ham is Good. Ham and I actually talked about brewing Donal over on the Cardboard Junkies Discord, where I posted a slight variation on his list. So if you want to dive any deeper into these commanders or just talk random stuff, feel free to pop in. I could honestly go on and on pointing out cool underplayed commanders, so if you like this video and you want to see more, make sure to hit the like button and let us know in the comments what underdog commander you want me to talk about next. Don't forget to subscribe, and thanks y'all for watching. I'll see you next time.